Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the coach's meeting. That's the coach.
What
I'm
up?
Grant Cohn. I'm live on location here in Vegas in my hotel room. What a hotel room it is. You're at home holding it down. And I'm over here getting the pulse of the team.
Boots on the ground. I love it, Grant. I love it.
So I got media availability again tonight. Last one. And then they kind of go dark for a few days and they play the freaking game. So
it's on.
Most of the hay is in the barn, but not all of it. I'm focused very much on what the Niners are saying. I'm covering the Niners, but Niner fans and analysts are also aware of what the Chiefs are saying. And I think it's interesting, kind of the mental warfare. I'm going to call it mental warfare that's going on. This is a total war. It's not just fought on game day on the field. There is a whole lead up to it. And the Chiefs are being very intentional about how they talk about the 49ers. Guys like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, leaders of the team. How do you interpret, or how have you perceived their strategy in terms of how to talk about the Niners?
They're on message. They are on message. You can definitely tell that they're very media trained. You're not getting a lot of cathartic, real moments out of them the same way you're getting out of our guys. There's not a lot of personal stories being told. There's not a lot of anecdotal come up in stories about the genesis of the team and how certain players
story they are and how they exceeded expectations.
Exactly. The Paul Revere stories of how did we really get Christian? What was said on the inside room? We're getting all of these fly on the wall stories now as if it's time to reflect. Versus with Kansas City, they're very much matter of fact about it. They're being very professional. In some instances, they're being a little bit too heavy-handed. I'm looking at you, Chris Jones. And
this is what I want to talk about, though, how they're talking about. They're handling themselves with the professionalism you'd expect a team that's in their fourth Super Bowl appearance to act. But the way they're talking about the 49ers makes me smile. It makes me, it's because I feel like it's coordinated. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's on message. That's what I mean. I feel like if this was a political debate, these are two different parties and everybody is stumping the base right now. Everybody is on base for Kansas City and they're saying all of the right things. They're being very complimentary of the 49ers. They're saying that they're the best team that they've ever seen. These are quotes. This is the best team that I've ever seen. Trent Williams is ferocious. He is a tremendous athlete. I'm going to have to pray to be ready to go against this team. I saw another interview from Snead where he said that we're lucky to be here. We're lucky to face this team. The 49ers are a very worthy opponent. And the road that they had to get here was similar. He said Cinderella story stuff. So they're
also when Spagnuolo or Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid are asked about Brock Purdy, they go on and on and on. Oh my God. If you watch the film, he is not a game manager. He is so good. And it's all the things the 49ers fight for and want to hear. Team is better than than people even realize. This quarterback is better than people realize. And I feel like a lot of opponents the Niners have faced this year make the mistake of not saying that. They're like, this team,
we don't know.
We got
They're
something
gettable. There's a blueprint.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to show. Yeah,
they can be beat. You can tell that the Niners, for what we bring offensively and defensively and just narrative, what the world thinks about us, what the NFL conversation is about us, they are not bothered by it at all. They have 100% leaned into it. There's not one subversive comment about the Niners whatsoever from the Chiefs. And on our side, you can tell that these boys are having a really good time. They are very excited to be there. everybody's taking in the moment. You can tell even the conversations, the questions that the Niners are getting, just, and in some instances, they're strapped to their story, right? So in some instances, they're going to be the new team that has the quarterback that's Mr. Irrelevant, and you're going to get all of these quirky questions. But you could tell the narrative with the Chiefs versus the Niners is that the Niners, nobody has asked the Niners, what does it mean to you to finally be back where you feel like you deserve to be? Like, what does it feel like for you to go through your journey with how the season ended last year and for you to finally be where you are to take advantage of your destiny? What does it feel like to be at the doorstep of your 6th Super Bowl championship? You're not getting any of the questions. Like, you're not getting any of the questions that lean into the true story, like why we're here, what we're trying to do. All of the questions and all of the narrative around the Niners is first time here. How do you feel? Would you get a tattoo of Brock Purdy on your face or not? Tell us how awesome the team is. So I'm ready for the media day to be over because it's time for us to get focused.
I feel like the way I've perceived the media treating the Super Bowl is this all about the Niners. This is the Niners. It's like, are they gonna break? It's all about, are they gonna break through? How they're the favorite. They're the story. I mean, the Chiefs are kind of boring. They're always here. It's not the best version of them. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. They kind of run the ball. They were kind of weak all year. They dropped the ball. They flipped a switch about a month and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And I think the Niners are some more interesting story. Brock's new. They haven't won. There's this whole dramatic tension, and doesn't mean the Niners will win. It just means that all the focus is on them.
Mm-hmm.
All the focus is on them. And I feel like the Chiefs are like happy about it. It's like, yeah, man, boo us. Cheer them. Give them all the help they need. They're great. We're going to boost them up too. You guys are phenomenal. You need it and you want it. We don't need that.
If I'm the Chiefs and I'm a coach on that team, I'm telling the Chiefs and my guys, we're the returning Super Bowl champions. We are the returning champs.
Yeah.
Right now, we are on top of the heap, and the entire narrative is basically damn near setting up the parade for these guys to win this game. These guys are fun. These guys are remarkably happy that they are here. And there hasn't seemed to be one real response as to, are you guys ready to face pretty much the best quarterback that you've seen this year, the best defense that you've seen this year, and through the 2 games that you guys have had thus far in the playoffs, it looks like you need to be trending up with this time that you have off rather than celebrating the win that you had against a team that, quite frankly, you should have beat.
What's interesting also about, when we move on, the questions are being asked for the Niners. I mean, they can't control this. This is just how the narrative of the game is shaping. I want to say like 95% of the questions the Niners get are not about the Chiefs or this game. They're about how incredible the Niners are, their story, their arc, how far they've come. Like, it feels like day one already with these questions. And I think the Chiefs are getting asked a lot of questions about the Niners because they're the topic. It's all about them. It's like it's their turn. It's Kyle's turn to prove all of the people who believed in him right. Okay, well, it's not that simple, man. You really have to go through the Chiefs, who seem very, very confident. And are the Niners confident? They seem nervous a little bit. That's my feeling being here. They seem a little nervous, which is, normal. They haven't won yet, but I think there's a difference.
And I kind of want to take the pause real quick to just kind of I try to feel the energy of being a fan, because I don't ever want to lose that, that perspective, right? I don't want to get so caught up in all of this that I lose the ability of being a fan. And right now, I'm a fan, right? And you're there. You are actually watching this stuff. And Iggy, I'd like you to highlight just knowing how to read the energy in the room like your expertise of following this team for years and seeing the ebbs and flows of what the results are when they act a certain way before games. You were there for the last Super Bowl. So what are the differences between how their attitude and how their energy was leading up to the last Super Bowl versus this one? What can you say that you've seen thus far?
Like, why do I feel like they're nervous? I mean, it started off with Charvarius Ward saying they're going to turn up for a couple of days. Like, I didn't hear the Chiefs say something like that. And then we kind of saw it on Sunday when they flew in the bus at the game. It seemed like a couple people were turned up, and it's like, okay,
now
is that exactly? And then okay, so you had that happen, and it seemed like Kyle was almost one of the dudes partaking. Like, he almost gave the green light. Hey man, this is how we're going to do it, and then we're going to lock in. But then you keep having John Lynch. John Lynch keeps very diplomatically.
He's got a Super Bowl.
Right. And he's the one champion in this franchise, him and Charvarius Ward. And so he did it last week. He did it yesterday. He had a little scrum last night. And he keeps saying, like, I had Steve come talk to the team. And Steve Young really wanted to talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. And he was explaining to the guys, look, in 10 years, you're not going to look back and say, I wish I had partied a little bit more in Vegas that week. You're going to look back and say, I wish I had won the Super Bowl. And so we really need to lock in and understand that it doesn't matter that we're in Vegas. It doesn't matter. We haven't, this next week is going to determine whether we will be immortalized or not. And John Lynch keeps trying to diplomatically remind the team this. He's bringing in champions like Steve Young, but you got to remember that the Niners are not champions. From Kyle to Brock to all of them, they're not. Right. And I think they act like they know what it takes, but they haven't proven it yet. And you got John Lynch kind of reminding Kyle, kind of reminding Jed, kind of reminding the whole freaking organization, hey guys, this is how it's done. I did this. Steve knows. Come on.
Yeah.
And then look at the Chiefs, like they've done it. Look at how they act. It's another game for them.
Yeah. And
another game for them.
That's something that we're only going to know what the effects of the warm up and the rollout to this game are going to be until the game is played. Right. So we're only going to know, like, hey man, you guys, these are facts. You guys turned up before the game. The owner sat down and had basically a campfire moment with the media and started. He literally said on the record that the season would have been a success had we lost to Detroit. Like, he said that.
Like, all of this stuff that was just like not the time to talk about any of that. And then you keep having John Lynch come back and be like, hey, can we focus this conversation? We're playing the Chiefs.
Right.
This is it. This is the moment. We haven't done anything yet. We fought to be here. Let's stay here in the moment, looking towards this game. And I don't know. I mean, it's just, maybe it's hard. Maybe it's the questions we're asking, but the Niners definitely feel like they're in this, let's take a deep breath and appreciate where we are. Like, Chiefs don't do that. Chiefs don't do that at all.
And, if we're going to, and then
when they turn up, when they like, hey, let's enjoy ourselves for a minute. Does that indicate confidence, or does that sort of indicate I'm a little nervous? Let me sort of take the edge off. Let me take the edge off a little bit, and then I'll settle in this week. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'll settle in, but right now I'm a little. I want to win this game. I haven't won this. I don't know. It seems to me that.
All right, so hold on. Hold on. This is what I don't like to do, right? I like to read the chat while we do the show because I feel like the pulse of what's actually being said while we're talking, I feel like that's fair. And there seems to be a resounding response of we're exaggerating, right? Or we're doing too much right now. So exactly. So hold on. So let's do this.
I'm just saying, I'm here. This is the feeling I get being here, but it's just my subjective feeling. And I'm sure there's a ton of journalists here that don't feel that way. So this is how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. And if they win the Super Bowl, then you'll be like, hey, Grant was wrong.
We were wrong.
Fine.
Exactly. But let's go back to 2019. In 2019, they partied in Miami before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's documented.
Huh? That's documented.
That's documented.
Yes. That's a fact that they went out and partied.
And you can say, oh, they were a bit of a young team. It was their first time there. It was Miami. They didn't really know. Okay. All right. So you did that. Now you're back 4 years later. What are you going to do differently to bring this one home? You're facing the same team. And I think what's tough about this matchup is I think they wanted the Ravens. Did I say this earlier? I think they wanted the Ravens.
Yeah.
Even though
I wanted the Ravens. I didn't want to see the Chiefs.
The Ravens don't have an offensive genius on their staff. Their quarterback hasn't won a Super Bowl. Like, you don't want to face Andy Reid with 2 weeks to prepare for you. You don't want to face Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what their regular season record is. You don't want that. And I think the Niners is a little bit of like, again, we have to face this guy again. Couldn't this have been the year where they don't make the Super? Couldn't we have gotten freaking anyone else? We outgained the Ravens. We feel good about the Ravens. We just have to not turn it over 5 times. We'll beat the Ravens. Like, what do they have to do to beat the Chiefs?
There's no answer.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Play a lot better than you've ever played against the Chiefs. That's what you got to do. Play a lot better than you've ever freaking played against the Chiefs.
They're gonna have to play out of their minds. Yeah. They're gonna have to play out of their minds. Like for me, I look at just the basics of what it takes. Like there was an effort issue on defense. I feel like that these guys think that they can just turn it on when they need to. And we've gotten out of some tricky games versus some teams that quite frankly just weren't better than us. The Green Bay Packers are not better than us. The Detroit Lions are not better than us. So you can actually get a couple of mulligans against a team who top to bottom you're better than, especially from a coaching perspective. My thing is that the Chiefs are undefeated against us. And the last time we saw them last year, they stomped a mud hole in us. That's just facts. All right. Now, if we keeping it a buck, we came off of a 2-game road streak, a 2-game road trip, East Coast, where I think we played Carolina and Atlanta. We incurred some injuries, and I think that's where we had a bye, and that was Christian's first game playing with us.
Yep.
So
he wasn't a big factor. But
he wasn't that much of a big factor. That defense got embarrassed.
And that team didn't have Tyreek Hill or anything. I mean, it was basically the same offense with a few different offensive linemen, but that defense needs answers. And I don't know. It's hard to say that this defense is going to lock in. Like, it hasn't in a while. They gave up 29 to Arizona. That wasn't that long ago. 31 to Detroit. Anyway, let's take some super chats and do our Bet US read. Okay. Ben says, was Kyle drunk? I don't know. Don't get me in trouble. I don't know. I don't know. Bucket of Chicken says, can you show Ryan how to remove mid-show ads? Nah, man. We all have mid-show ads, don't we? Bucket of Chicken says, Buzz Kyle is the best Kyle. Kilo T-Dub seems like KC wants the Niners defense to come out aggressive. That way it causes penalties. QC should bring that up to Fred, Bosa, etc. I would bring it up to Fred, but he blocked me on Twitter. I don't know why. Bucket of Chicken says, Grant, do your next show on Kyle's level. Nah, man. I'm not trying to. I don't know about that. All right. Let's check out some Bet US hot bets for the Super Bowl. See what the experts are saying.
I guess probably in the order that they popped into my orbit. I know the first thing that I bet was Purdy over interceptions. You just have to get one.
Yeah. Yes.
And the price was right. I just feel that the pressure is going to be on. He's had a lot of fortunate bounces with some of the throws that he's thrown. And this is a high leverage situational game. One mistake is all you need. And it just seems solid to me. I mean, it's hard not to make mistakes, especially in big games like this. So I just like it.
Yeah.
That's how you feel about I'm on the Purdy interception prop too. I bet it earlier this week. I got it, I think, at minus 115 or minus 120, somewhere in that range. What do you think?
You can play perfectly and just get a ball batted up in the air and it can get intercepted. Yeah. So just a chance. You can have look at the big pass to Ayuk and bounces off the Lions, face mask. That's one that should be intercepted, right? I mean, so bottom line is, I agree.
Great pass. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll give out a couple of and you guys know I love the rush attempts prop. I think that's been one of the only props that I've really given out on this show consistently, where we had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards. Don't get me started on why the Ravens just decided to stop running the ball. But I'm going to go with both quarterbacks in this game, Purdy and Mahomes, to go over the rushing attempts prop. Purdy's at 3.5. Mahomes is at 4.5. I'm seeing varying juice. I got the Purdy actually at plus money. Mahomes I saw for the most part sitting between minus 110, minus 120. And in Elijah Mitchell, I'm going to go under on Elijah Mitchell's rushing attempts prop. I think the quarterback rushing attempts prop are pretty self-explanatory. Big game, mobile guys. Brock's really shown the mobility over the last couple weeks, and Mahomes, it's always been there. And kneel downs count. And
all right, I'm going to stop you right there. I like that. We don't need to get into Elijah Mitchell, but I want to talk about. I mean, the first one's a big one. Will Brock Purdy throw an interception in this Super Bowl? That's a big question on everyone's mind. And the people in that panel basically said, if you're putting money on it, the safe bet is yes.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. He's going to be playing against McDuffie, Snead, Reed, and Edwards in that secondary, which is a very stout secondary, especially in the red zone. I believe that one thing that they are going to do, the Chiefs, is I feel like there's going to be a fight for the line of scrimmage first. We'd be fools not to try to run the ball against these boys. But I do understand that there's a lot of bounces that have gone our way, not only all through the season, but particularly in the playoffs. Getting a turnover from Brock. There was actually a question that I had gotten in Ryan's show where they had asked, like, hey, if Brock throws 2 picks, do you see us absolutely losing this game? And I said, no, like all picks aren't made equal. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Brock threw a pick in this game.
Well, if you want to wager on that or any prop bet in the Super Bowl, go to BetUS and receive a 125% deposit match on your first 3 wagers. Not just 1, 3. BetUS. Link in the description. Also, check out the BetUS football show, which we were just watching. Link in the description for that too. BetUS doing some big things. Noe, win the Super Bowl Niners, then you can party like Tom Brady did when he beat the Chiefs. Yeah, that's when you do it. And that's like just a few days away. All right, next topic. Tell us about, this is Mina Kimes' stat, the 49ers edge over the Chiefs. This is a very interesting statistic.
Right. So Mina Kimes came out with a statistic stating that the Kansas City Chiefs defense ranks in the lower third of the NFL in outside zone run defense. And the Niners are maybe top 3 in the league in success in rushing wide zone against defenses this year. And she insinuated that that the Niners would find a lot of success with running the ball on the outside against the Chiefs and being able to take advantage of that all game.
Interesting, because I mean, if you think about it, that's the Niners, the basis of their offensive attack. And if the Chiefs can't stop that, then how do they possibly compete? Very interesting.
So do you want me to step on it or you want to go?
Well, I want to give some context. People in the chat, tell me if you remember this. 4 years ago, I remember being in Miami watching a lot of NFL Network at, the hotel bar after a long day's work, eating the same burger every night, having a beer, watching NFL Network. And they're telling me, hey, the Chiefs defense worst in the league against motion. When a team motions, they're giving up like 6 yards a carry. They can't stop anything. Niners going to win. And when people pick the Niners, I heard that stat all the time. Chiefs just can't stop motion. I'm sorry, they can't stop motion.
They can't stop it.
And you can't stop motion. You can't beat the Niners. And it's like, that wasn't a factor at all in the Super Bowl. And I think after that game, people came away with a much deeper appreciation for Steve Spagnuolo. Like, yo, that guy just doesn't go out there and do what he does. He's very smart. He understands the offense's strengths, weaknesses, his strengths, his weaknesses, and he has a game plan that's really good. So, look, this is a cool stat. Go ahead. I just said you go ahead.
No. Okay. So, for the record, this is kind of a juxtaposed opinion because Mina Kimes was actually bringing up this stat in favor of the Niners, but she actually has the Chiefs winning. right? So, and the reason why I'm pushing back, and I have the Niners winning this game, is because that defense, to Grant's credit, is not what we would call a base defense. They don't run vanilla defense up front. That's what they do. They basically have enough on defense to become whatever they need to be that day to stop the offense that faces them. That's the kind of defense that they have. That's why they're as good as they are. The only unit outside of the 4 units outside of the Chiefs offense and their defense and the Niners offense and our defense is that stays stagnant is our defense. Our defense is the only defense that stays in a base defense, and they operate out of our palms coverage, basically in a cover 3 look. That's how we run our defense, hands down. So for me, you got stats are dead numbers, and you can get stats are good to be able to find out the frequency of something or the cadence of something in the game, but it doesn't actually mean anything without context. And what that means is that if the Chiefs defense that's ranked like top in the league right now, one of the best defenses in the league, if they rank lowest in the outside zone, then you have to ask yourself, all right, what's the control in this experiment? Is it the fact that every time somebody ran outside zone on the Chiefs, they were woefully bad, and that's how for some reason nobody saw this and they just stayed away from it? Or is it the fact that every team that runs wide zone isn't worth stopping all the time because that's not how they're going to beat you anyway? So you got to understand that run stats in the NFL, especially on defenses, can be very deceiving because we're not in a running NFL anymore. Case in point, our defense, everybody knows that if you look at the numbers, by the numbers, we're one of the best run defenses in the league by the numbers. But if you look at the eye test, you see that we got issues at stopping the ball. We really do. It's particularly up front, in the middle. And the only reason why you don't see that is because the context of the way those numbers bear out, which is we blow teams out. So they don't ever have to we don't ever get teams that get into their run game and actually get to work what they need to against us because they're constantly playing catch up against us. It's only the teams that actually have the team that can get to their run game that can exploit us. And I feel that way about the Chiefs as well. Those are hollow numbers. Like I wouldn't be fooled at them being bad on outside zone. This team is for real.
This kind of reminds me of the Packers game from a couple of weeks ago. Like, everyone said the Niners were going to blow out the Packers because the Packers can't stop the run. End of story. Can't stop the run. But like any team can stop the run if you commit to it. And what the Packers did in that game, when they're like, we're going to play 5 and 6 on the line. We're going to play 6 on the line a lot and give you looks that Kyle Shanahan knows he doesn't want to run into just by alignment and try to turn you into a one-dimensional left-handed offense, meaning doing what you don't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Attacking how you don't normally attack. It worked for them. Like the Chiefs could do that if they wanted to. I don't know what their defensive game plan is going to be, but if Spagnuolo says, I'm not going to get beat on the outside zone, he can by alignment shut that down. He'll be vulnerable to other things, but he's not just going to let the strength of the Niners offense beat him. I don't know. At the same time, I don't really expect either defense to play that well in this game. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people say, look, Chiefs have only scored more than 30 a few times, and the Niners have only given up that much. Like, I just see this being a high-scoring game. Maybe I'm wrong. I see it being a lot like last year's Super Bowl.
I think the game calls for what it calls for, right? This is not one of those situations where we can look at what a team has done throughout the year and kind of, forecast what they're going to do in this game. This is a sudden death, winner takes all situation. So it's not about the scheme. It's not, man. It ain't about who can stop what throughout the year. It's literally about hat on a hat, Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. It's does our names of the players that are going to be on there, do our 11 men, can we beat those 11
matchups?
Men? It's matchups.
James Welsh says, what I disagree with most is anyone who has the assumption this team will be here again. I see this as now or never. We are old and the NFC will rise.
I agree with that take.
Fortunately for the Niners, there aren't like a ton of elite quarterbacks in the NFC. I mean, Stroud's in the AFC. I mean, there's Love, there's Purdy, there's
You talking about the NFC?
NFC quarterbacks. There's just not a lot of the elite ones in the NFC.
I mean,
So
Love, Purdy.
Dak. I mean, Dak is not an elite quarterback.
I mean, Dak's not elite.
No. Mark Jacobs. No, it's just not there. I mean, Stafford, Kyler,
maybe Kyler.
Yeah.
Bryce Young ain't it. Baker Mayfield ain't it. Whatever they're doing in Atlanta ain't it. Trevor Goff.
Derek Carr?
Jared Goff. Derek Carr ain't it. Kirk Cousins ain't
like
it.
Is he the best?
No.
You know?
Well,
As long as there aren't these elite
guaranteed.
quarterbacks. Yeah. Mark Jacobs,
Justin
70% of money in
Fields.
Vegas. Yeah.
Nope.
70% of money in Vegas on KC to win. Is that even true? That doesn't sound right at all. I saw someone say that, but I'd actually need to see that. Why is that such a favorite? Because
I mean, we're the top to bottom. We have the better roster. We're a better team than them, top to bottom. But you know, this is kind of like seeing what we really have in Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. That's what this game is really about, right?
Matthew Sanders. Yep. It is. Well, yeah. Blows my mind how everyone glossing over CMC opportunity this game. Most focused, driven, hungry man out there. All season, he refused to leave the field. You think he's not going to try it here? Slept on.
I don't think CMC's being slept on.
I don't think so.
I want to see him against this defense. I want him to pound the rock. I think they're going to win through CMC. I really do. They have to run the ball.
Lawless Light. I hope Kylan Brock makes sure Casey knows he will run early. The threat of Brock's legs right away should put them on notice.
That's true. That's true. That is something that we've seen that has been an uptick throughout the season. Like Brock is starting to use his legs a lot more. His throwing defense is off.
Christopher Andrew, if Purdy beats Mahomes, does this start a new rivalry?
Yeah.
I think so. Absolutely. 1-on-1, 1-1 in the Super Bowl.
1-for-1.
Trucking. Tacos El Gordo bomb in Vegas. Oh, I've been there. It's so good. I agree.
It's good.
Tacos El Gordo. I'm not really close to there, but it's phenomenal. All right. Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, two of the best offensive coaches, if not the best offensive coaches in the world. Quite different coaches, though. I asked Travarius Ward to sort of explain the similarities and differences last night. He's very perceptive, smart, descriptive. Travarius Ward says, Andy Reid keeps it light, cracks a lot of jokes, life of the party. Kyle Shanahan, more reserved, doesn't talk as much, but cool. How would you describe their similarities and differences?
Well, for me, I would say that I'm going to describe what other people say about them because I'm not going to talk about as if I know the people, right? What we hear about Kyle is that the reason why he's loved and liked a lot in the building is because he's so upfront. I mean, Kyle is just so pragmatic. He'll be the one to just tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. And I think that the reason why that's almost kind of lumped in.
And he has swag. And he has swag. He wears Jordans and Yeezys and he has flat build hats. People always mention that he has swag as if that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean,
Trent Williams talks about it all the time. Sorry.
He's got swag. So Kyle.
It's a two-pronged attack here.
Yeah. Kyle knows how to buy apparel. So I don't know. What do you want me to say, bro? I don't know. Like he bought Yeezys. Now he's got culture. I get it. So that stuff just doesn't hit me that way. So anyway, one of the reasons why I think that characteristics from Kyle is valued so much is because it's a dog eat dog. It's a dog eat dog business. And I feel like a lot of people are not asking for Kyle to be their friend. They're not asking for Kyle to make them feel good. They just want to know where they stand. Even if it's bad, they just want to know. Right. And I feel like because of that has its advantages, right? Because you always know where you stand. You know exactly where to put your effort, especially if Kyle tells you, hey, I want you to play. You're going to be here. This is what I need from you. But then at the same time, you're almost kind of at the behest of his consideration as a man, right? So how often is Kyle considering the people around him and, you know, how to lead the team if he's, you know, kind of known for, you know, really not having a governor, really not having any type of discretion versus with Andy. I've heard people say that they didn't like Andy. And one of the reasons why they didn't like Andy is for the same reasons why people love Andy. And that's because he does give you a dad feel. He does try to wrap his arm around you and try to lead you into the best aspects of your career. And if it doesn't work out, he gets rid of you. But the Band-Aid coming off of that type of relationship is much more jarring from somebody who you feel as though you're emotionally connecting with versus somebody like Kyle, where it's kind of like, I know where I stand. Like, I'm going to make this team. If I don't do this during this season, I won't make the team. And I feel like a lot of teammates, it's different strokes for different folks, right? But you do have to look at the success. Both methods are successful, but only one method actually gets it done, right? Because Andy's on it, working on his third. He's got two. So right now.
Okay, let me jump in here because you're on a roll. Let me tell you what I see as the difference between these two. Kyle is a control freak. He won't even deny it. And he's a control freak, straight up. And you can say that's cool. Everyone says I like it. You know, there's a camera in our meetings and he's watching and he can even talk. He's the voice of God in our meetings. He wants to be Oz, passionate whenever he wants. And we like it. We like that Kyle's constantly over our shoulder and micromanaging every single thing. We like that because we trust Kyle. And that's great. That's his style.
No, for the record, nobody likes that.
No one likes it, but if you work with Kyle and he's your boss, you say you do.
You say you like it, yeah.
But no one likes it. But you know what? They've had some success, and so they go with it. It seems very Belichickian. It's not how Andy Reid does things. It seems like Andy Reid is much more laid back, empowering to the players. Patrick, you're the best. I trust you. What do you want me to call? Yeah, I'm Andy Reid. I'm asking you. Like Kyle Shanahan is much more, Brock, you're really good. Now do what I say. And you know what? Don't scramble so much. Just operate the system like I told you to. Are you really good though? But if you throw a pick, it's like that's a little bit more like Kyle to me. And maybe Kyle's style is better. It worked for Bill Belichick to be really tough. And yeah, it just seems like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Andy Reid, hey, he's like a grandfather. He's chilling.
Yeah. I mean, but also, you know, something is to be said about them being at different stages of their lives too. Andy Reid is much older than Kyle. And you know, Andy, you know, for what it's worth, and not to get personal because I won't, you know, we're here to talk about football, but you know, Andy Reid's personal life was like documented in the public space everywhere as to what he was going through as a father, as a man. And I just feel like where Andy Reid is, he's been through some shit. You know what I mean? Like he's textured, you know, and you can kind of feel from Coach Reid that he's very, to be completely honest, I do feel like in a way, Andy kind of I feel like football is kind of like his thing. Like he uses football just to get a break from his family from time to time. Like he really does give off that vibe that I've done this so long. And there was a point of time where this was the epicenter of my family. Now that I have adult children and I'm in the twilight of my career, you know, this is, I'm putting the final touches on my career versus in the throes of it like Kyle is.
But he was a young coach at one point too. I mean, he got that job with Philly when he was in his 30s or his early 40s, and he never ever came across as a hard ass. Someone whose best quality was that they kept it real. He always seemed like he kept it light. He always had like Taco Tuesday and stuff like that. And I, to me, like, look at his tree where he comes from. He worked under Mike Holmgren, who worked under Bill Walsh, who was the bellhop at their first Super Bowl. Like, let's keep this light. Let's be confident. Kyle, Mike Shanahan's son. Mike Shanahan was the original dictator coach. I mean, not to use, inflammatory terms here, but he was the king of the Broncos. He was the king of Washington. Like when the Shanahans go to
they want
an
it
organization, they want it all. They take everything.
Want it all.
And
yeah.
And they're micromanaging every coach, every player, every quarterback. It's how they do things. So I'm not sure that Kyle will necessarily outgrow it. This is his model. This is what he thinks works. And he always says Mike's the best. His dad's the best coach he's ever seen. Okay, well, he's gonna be faithful to his dad's template.
Well, there are some roots to the Shanahan tree that or some scars, if you will, from the Shanahan tree that have been there from the 80s. I mean, even when Mike got fired from Oakland, Mike came in the same
LA.
way in LA. Sorry,
it was the Raiders. Yeah,
the LA Raiders. To your credit, Grant, Mike came in saying that he was going to do whatever Al Davis asked him to do. That's how he got that job. He was going to elevate all of the players and all of the talent that they already had.
In the 80s, that was Al Davis's team. There was no, coach who was going to come in and tell Al Davis how to run the Raiders. He had he was a coach of the Raiders. Like, he knew football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, Al Raider was an owner that actually knew the game. And also this ain't this new age bullshit where owners come up and just act like glorified CEOs. Like, no, owners came in there like they were running the goddamn bodega. Like, this is my shit. We do exactly what I want. So in order for Mike to get that job, he had to bend the knee and say whatever he needed to say to get his foot in the door. One of those.
As soon as he got his foot in the door, he became Mike Shanahan. We know who Mike Shanahan is, and it took Al Davis a year and a half.
Tell the index card story.
Well, what I heard is that Mike's first day on the job, team meeting, and talk about controlling. These are the Raiders. This is a team that's won Super Bowls in the 80s. Hall of Famers on this team. Mm-hmm. First team meeting, their index cards waiting on every desk with a name on it. Mike Shanahan had assigned seats. These are grown men champions. Raiders take one look at it, laugh, knock them on the floor, see wherever they want. And you could argue that he lost the team right there. If you're going to do some over-the-top controlling thing, you better follow through. If they don't respect it, I don't see how they're going to respect anything you do. Anyway, didn't work for him on the Raiders. He did win some Super Bowls later on. And I'm not saying Kyle Styles wrong. His dad has 3 Super Bowls. But Kyle's none. We'll see if he gets this one.
Yeah. And I just feel like, they want the control because they want to be able to feel like they're not hamstringed when things aren't going their way, that they understand exactly where guys are. Another thing is they want to make sure who gets the money on their team, on how their team is built. Kyle has got everything that he's wanted all the way through. There's really nothing Kyle hasn't asked for that he hasn't gotten, even down to the quarterback. He got exactly what he wanted, even when he didn't want Brock. John was the one pushing Brock before Kyle was publicly. So for me, they got to go in. They got to go win. I mean, we've gone through. I'm so glad that the media did. Is there any more media left?
Today.
Okay. Yeah.
Today. I got one more distinction. Tell me if you agree. Andy Reid treats players like grown-ups. Kyle and his dad treat players like children. And Kyle, to his credit, I think the way he makes this work is he acts like he's like, look, I'm a kid too. I'm a kid too. Sure, I'm the emperor of this team, but we wear the same clothes. We have the same shoes. We listen to the same music. But I keep it real. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. And to be real with you, like, I've always had a problem with like how buddy he was with his teammates, but they win, and this is like new age football.
All the players yesterday. I asked Debo, Ayuk, Trent, and Bosa, what's different about your relationship with Kyle than any coach you've ever had? And they all said, oh, he's my friend. That's my friend. Like Bosa was like, Coach Meyer was intimidating. We were all scared of Coach Meyer. Kyle, I mean, I'm scared of Kyle, but he's my friend. He treats me like a friend. I don't know that Andy Reid treats them like friends. Treats them like grown-ups. Like, this is your team, not necessarily my team.
Yeah, I mean, he acts like he's the adult in the room.
I make like I'm in charge of this group. We're friends. Though.
Yeah, like
it's my thing.
I'll tell you this. Like Kyle still. I mean, even in his mid-40s, like Kyle's got to make the decision of knowing like. All right, so I own my own like security firm. I started my little business back in 2010 when I was in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn in order for my business to be successful, and it sucked, but it was a real decision that I had to make, is, dog, when you're running the show, you can't be one of the fellas anymore. It sucks because I'm a guy's guy. You know what I mean? Like, I love to tell lies and kill flies. Like, I love to shoot the shit. But when you actually want to be in a position of leadership, there's this emotional detachment that you got to kind of have from your guys in order for you to make the decisions that you need to make and be taken seriously. And it's not only when you want to call yourself the boss, but it's in the roughest moments where you need to lean on that separation of like, yo, this guy's serious. Like, he doesn't come out here and shoot the shit with us. This guy don't party with us. This guy doesn't joke around with us. When he shows up, it's about business. He's fair. That don't mean you got to be a dick. That don't mean you got to be a tyrant. But it does mean that there needs to be a clear line of leadership. And I feel like Kyle flirts with that line a lot. He does. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he does.
Official BNM Music 88 says Trevor Goff sounds overwhelmingly mid.
It is.
Christopher Andrews says, is it rare that a 1.5 year starter is 4-1 in the playoffs?
Yeah.
You tell me.
It is rare.
Chris Grove. Grant, go to Juan's Flaming Fajitas if you can with pops, chips, queso, fundido, torta, birria, and fajitas are all great. Let's get this dub. Okay? Say less. Official BNM Music 88 says, facts, coach. Andy been through at KC 2012 incident. Yeah, he's been through a lot.
He's been through a lot.
It's been a pleasure watching you both this season, says Christopher Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Jesus says, couple dollars to hear you holla Fernando. Why do I have to do that every stream? But I will.
Because first of all, your pitch. Oh, wait a minute. Your pitch. I gotta push back. Your pitch perfect. I like hearing it. And you need to do it every show. And I'm tired. I don't care if you don't want to do it. Everybody who puts up Fernando Super Chat, do it every show. Answer the phone with you. How many times do I answer the phone with you screaming Fernando? Like, I do it. I love it.
Yeah, it's true. Flavor says, am I alone to say the Niners should rock the black and red jerseys? The vibes would be crazy.
That would be nuts.
Yes, you're alone. You're alone. I don't know. In the Super Bowl, I can't. You can't go alternate jersey in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you can't, but whatever.
That's like wearing denim on denim. You can't do that.
You will not let that go.
Hey, man, ever since I pointed that out to George Kittle, he's been like real salt. Like, he used to always give me this like big smile. Hey, Grant, how you doing? Now it's like, hi, Grant. I'm like,
because he knows that was a weak ass outfit, dog. That dog's like, yo, come on.
Finally did it.
Yeah,
that's what finally turned you off to me. All right. Lau Boyard says, explain to me why the zone defense is better to play man. Explain to me why zone defense is better to play than man against Mahomes. Or should the Niners play with a 5-man front? I think most people say you want to play man against Mahomes because his receivers aren't overwhelmingly great. You can match up with them. So when you play man against Mahomes, he'll run. He will. Same thing with Purdy. So they better be able to stop him from scrambling. Travi, 86. Are you ready to come home, Grant? Yes. Yes.
Really? That was I wanted to hear what you had to say.
It's like Vegas is cool, but like 4 days of the casino, 5 days of the casino. You go downstairs and you hear the ding, 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 ding. It's like, oh. And it's like, it all smells like cigarette smoke. It's like, man, I got a headache. It's 8 a.m.
It's like, it's 8 a.m. and the AC is blasting in here.
It's like, come on. Can I just get a break from all this overstimulation for a minute? Matthew Sanders, Andy out here making commercials with Patrick playing with chicken nuggets and fries. I think he's got 3 favorites and the rest are on notice.
Mm-hmm. How about you tell me that again with those nuggies?
Oh, you have to do a Fernando now for bucket of chicken.
Fernando.
That was fantastic.
I love the Fernando.
That was excellent. All right. So we just broke down the differences and similarities between Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid. What about the similarities and differences between Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes as guys, not as quarterbacks, as guys, as pros? You got one is most mature, advanced, poised young quarterback, maybe freaking ever. And the other one is the face of the league, maybe the best quarterback ever. He's 28. He's right in his prime, and he's quite confident. How do you sort of conceptualize their similarities and differences?
Well, they're similar in the fact that they're both ready for the moment. It's different, though. I feel like Patrick is being gracious of the space. He's you can tell that even when they talk, Patrick is behind Brock. You know, he was very gracious in their time together. Every time he talks about Brock, he doesn't talk down. You know, sometimes you could tell when people are being complimentary of you, but they're kind of like patting you on the head, like, "Oh, that's cool. That was nice. That was cute." You know, no, I feel like Patrick has been talking about Brock like he's actually one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
No doubt.
He's giving him a lot of respect. So that much I do see from Patrick. And then also, I just feel like it's kind of like hand in glove as far as Patrick is concerned in this space. Like, he just seems comfortable. Brock, on the other hand, has been batting 1,000. Like, as far as all of the other players that I've seen, some guys have been very happy. You can tell that they just love all of the attention. And Brock still seems very rooted. He seems very ready for the moment. He's answering questions very clearly and concise, even really weird questions earnestly. Very earnest in his opinions. I mean, he asks, you know, some of the devotion and some of the devotion in the reading that he's been doing out of the week with his faith. You know, what are some of the Bible scriptures and what are some of the transcripts that you've been reading? And he rattled that shit right off, like Psalms 23.
Psalms 23.
That I work like the whole thing. Yeah, you know, whom shall I fear?
He's not joking.
Yeah. So I see that Brock is ready for the moment, and then also, if we're being honest, looking from the outside in, there's a little bit of Brock who just doesn't know what he doesn't know, and that's a good thing. Right? Like, there's a little bit of Brock that I don't think he really understands that, my man, this is kind of like once in a lifetime opportunity. You may never be here again. You're facing one of the best defenses that you have ever seen in the NFL, right? This team is primed to not only beat you, but this team has actually beat the team that you have been leaning on all this year. So this is an actual team that nobody in the building can talk to you about beating, right? So, you don't see that. You don't see any of that from Brock, and I'm happy. I think that he's ready for the moment. He seems ready.
Brock's in such a weird position because the questions he gets are essentially like, so when did you realize you could walk on water? When did you know? When was the first time? You know what I mean? It's like, and he's sitting there trying to be so earnest, like, okay, well, there was this one time when I gave it a shot and I realized, hey, I might be able to walk across this pool. And then I did it once, but, you know, I didn't take the credit on myself. It was all about my teammates. And he's trying so hard to get the right answer and be, and take it seriously, but not take too much credit. It's like, you gotta love, and he's being so effortful and intentional, which I think he has to. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, it seems like he's straight up autopilot. Like, yeah, man, cracking jokes. You know, not that there's one's better than the other. It's just it's a natural outcome if Brock gets to his 4th Super Bowl when he's 28, I'm sure he'll be the same exact way. But for Brock, it's like all these questions like, man, when did you know that you had superpowers? When did you realize that you were just magical? Whereas Mahomes, he was a disappointment this year. I mean, his season wasn't that good. Like, he doesn't have that much to gloat about. In fact, when I think of Mahomes this year, I think of him walking off the field as the Chiefs are about to punt, and he's got his head cocked to the side a little bit, and he's whining.
Yes.
Straight up whining. And I don't know who he's mad at, who he's talking to.
He's always upset.
That's Mahomes. He does it all year. And now all of a sudden he's like, well, yes, I made it here. But like, you never see Brock do stuff like that. Maybe one day, but Brock is just so careful. And Mahomes is like, whatever I do is right. Whatever I do in this moment it's just a whole different level of confidence.
Yeah. This year has been a whole new like revelation for Pat, man. Like, I never looked at him as like a complainer or somebody that didn't like the refs, dude. But like this year has been nuts for Patrick Mahomes as far as like him just being not happy at all with anybody, his team, the refs, the other teammates, like everything. So I will say that. And then on the other hand, the only times that we've seen Brock like out of character, not even like when he's throwing the picks, but now, I will say this. If you want to see Brock get outside of his body or you want to see him outside of his frame, be not where you're supposed to be on the field. Because one thing that I will say for him, he's very nervous. And you can see there's an anxiety, not more of a you're supposed to be there, but more of a, hey, bro, your ass needs to be where I expect you to be. Right. Like not even the fact that Ray McCloud was late on where he needed to be on the field. Ray McCloud was trying to make a play, like throw me the ball. And the fact that Brock didn't even want to chance it and deliver him the ball, you could tell that Brock is very steadfast on making sure that, hey, if I'm studying and literally burning this stuff into my frontal lobe to understand how to run this offense, you can't do me like that. You can't go off script. And that's something that is a little bit worrisome going into this game, because I'm going to tell you this right now. The way the Niners win games for a while, outside of the last two games where we played Green Bay and Detroit, the way the Niners win is we front run. We have a great script. We get up early, and by mid-third quarter, the game is over, right? And we're basically up two scores. We probably if we're really cooking that day, we probably lapped them, deferred and got the ball twice. And our opening drive was on point. And by that time, we got the team pinned back. They can't really run the ball. The defense is feeling good. And we may end the game with a turnover or two. That's not going to happen in the Super Bowl. The NFL is not going to let the Niners go up on the Chiefs in this big this big drive, and we go up two scores, and then the Chiefs, we just watch the Chiefs struggle to come back the entire game. That's not going to happen. So what we need to see from the Niners is off script, outside the scheme, because this is matchup ball.
And teams always talk about it. It's just the next game. You don't need to make it bigger than it is. It's still 11 on 11 football. And I think it's hard for the 49ers to actually internalize that. It's hard for Brock to say it's just the next game when it's his first Super Bowl. And I mean, for Patrick Mahomes, they really act like it. Like, we've done this before. Been here a million times. It's no big deal. And that's how Patrick Mahomes is acting. Like, yeah, I'm having fun with this. I'm not even trying in these interviews. I'm having fun. I'm not thinking twice about this. With Brock, every question he's like, yeah, that's a good question. No, let me give you the right answer with that. And there's nothing wrong. I love that as a journalist, but you can see he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to say the right thing, which is kind of plays into his attitude on the field. Like,
it's a microcosm. So he
presses a little sometimes, and he's going against a guy who won't. He's going against the most confident quarterback, this is just another game for Patrick Mahomes. It is. You don't have to tell him, Patrick, don't build this up too much, man. Don't build. Hey, play within yourself. No, that's what he's gonna do. You got to tell it to Brock.
Let me ask you this: who do you feel like is going to be the more relaxed team coming into the Super Bowl? Us or the Chiefs?
All the pressure's on the Niners. If the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl, it won't hurt their legacy at all. They have two Super Bowl wins. Not at all. They have two. Okay. I mean, it'd be like, look, you were underdogs. You lost to a great team. There's no shame. The Niners are great. If they win, oh my God. Like, Andy Reid can retire, 3 Super Bowls, beat the Niners twice, in the conversation with Bill Walsh, one of the greatest coaches ever. Like, it seems like there's very little to lose for the Chiefs. Niners,
okay,
they lose again?
What's
As
at
favorites.
stake then? Because we're going to be 1,000% real. Let's talk like we talk offline. What's truly at stake if they lose? If Jed is already saying that the season was a success, whether they lost in the NFC Championship game or not.
I can answer that question in 30 seconds. Since they lost in 2019, the Niners' whole attitude is, actually, we should have won, and we have a championship formula, and we're going to prove it. We've only been snake bitten by bad luck. We're not going to fundamentally change our formula. And if they win, it validates that. We always had it. We've had bad luck. We've really been the best team in the league for 4 years. We just now have the hardware to prove it. If they lose, then people are going to be like, man, something is off with your formula. You're never going to win. Never. You're always going to be close, but no cigars. You got to tweak something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people are going to say. Like, so there's a lot at stake for the 49ers. People are, it's a whole referendum on how they do business. It's a whole referendum on how they do business.
I believe that. I believe that too, but I think that even if we raise that question, if they lose, like, it'll get slapped down. Like, what are you talking about? And it's just like, well, I feel like I've had the Niners winning this game, but I just want us to be clear about what are the events that are taking place on the way to the game and how does that affect the game? Right? Because that matters, right? You know, the football teams are very close to the chest. Yeah. Football teams are very close to the chest about how things are, but these are real people. And it's a really small group, dude. I mean, I understand the lenses and the beautiful cameras make this stuff look larger than life. But once you get around these people, you start understanding this is just a small group of people that pretty much act like any one of the groups of people that I have been around, and things can happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they're not impervious to the human experience, right? They're not superheroes. So, you know, if you feel like you want to like nurse a couple of hangovers a week before a game or a couple of days before a game, like, good on you. You know what I'm saying? But the energy and how these guys are going to approach the game is going to be very enlightening once the ball is rolled out, right? Because we need to be ready. And you know what? Also, this isn't something that is like a narrative that we're stretching at. They had 20 days off. 20 days off. And Green Bay came in there and punched them in the mouth at home.
It's the difference between a team that knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl and a team that thinks it knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl. And it's just interesting to see the different actions. One team did it freaking last year. So it's interesting to just see how it's not that big of a deal. They're the champions. They carry themselves with a confidence only champions can have. The Niners are the team that has the story, the context, the excuses, the expectations. And it's just a whole different attitude. And Brock doesn't wear that loss. He wasn't in this last Super Bowl. He doesn't have the stench of that defeat. That's Jimmy. Kyle does. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to see how he acts. Got a couple super chats and then one last topic. Denim on Demon is unhinged diabolical behavior. I think that's true. Christopher Andrew, Purdy versus Mahomes equals Rocky versus Drago. Okay. Lyle Bolliard says, how in the hell did they get home to get the same ref that they did in 2019? Bill Vinovich watched the 2019 Super Bowl and the calls went for the Chiefs. Oh, man. The NFL hates the Niners. I saw someone put on Twitter today that the NFL doesn't want the Niners to win the Super Bowl. That's why they got the bad facility. You really think that?
No.
Why? The Niners are only good for the NFL. Bay Area Baller 18 says, yo, G and C, I'm expecting a lot of soft zone to limit the big play. So my big key is Niners red zone D. Have to hold them to 3 more times than not. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, really.
Soft zone D.
Yeah. I think what's going to be crazy with the Chiefs is kind of what Lamar Jackson did to us, where it wasn't the rushing that Lamar did actually past the line of scrimmage, but it was the ability for him to keep plays alive with his legs. Yep. And that's something that I feel like a lot of us are not, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he's not the most fleet of foot, but he's incredibly hard to sack. He really is. Yeah. And I want to see what our defense is going to do against him.
And Kyle Shannon said the key to the game is defensive line stamina. Well, that's tested when the quarterback extends as many plays as Mahomes does.
That's true.
Those are just, instead of playing defensive line for 3 seconds of play, it's 6 seconds of play. It's exhausting. Mm-hmm. It's like another game.
It's another ball game.
Give me one player who will be the Super Bowl X factor. And I'm saying not Christian McCaffrey, not Brock Purdy, not Nick Bosa, not someone who's a Pro Bowler, someone completely under the radar who's going to have a huge impact on this game, in your opinion, or a big
Juwan Jennings. I'm really looking at Juwan. When Juwan was out in the past couple of weeks, we missed him. I mean, I don't know if people understand. I don't think Juwan played against the Ravens. And it was a really big subtraction from our offense because of what we do on the ground. He is basically a glorified tight end. Really. I mean, he's as strong as them. He's as nasty. And he's also somebody that makes your secondary think twice. These boys, for their defense, they're talented, but where they're elite at is their secondary. And I feel like having a guy like Juwan Jennings, where he's hard to tackle, he's a menace in the run game, he's going to block you to the echo of the whistle. I mean, he's just a throwback, man. I just love the way he plays. I think that all of these third down, third and shorts, plays where there's lulls in the game and, Debo's tired, CMC's tired, and BA is locked down, we're going to need Juwan. I feel like Juwan Jennings is going to be my guy this game.
I feel like the thing that's interesting about Juwan is he has all the capabilities to be the X factor. Can't call his own number. When they call his number, he comes through. So it's almost on like Kyle. Like, dude, don't forget about Juwan because the Chiefs will. Everyone does. You can't possibly account for him and the other 4 guys. You got to let him. Anyway, I'm with that. The other one that I think the Niners can't avoid is Jake Moody. I feel like this has sort of been a topic all year, but they've been able to skirt around it because they're so good. Like, they're not going to lose. Their season wasn't going to get cut short because of Jake Moody, but he could prevent them from winning the Super Bowl. If this is a high-scoring game and it comes down to some field goals, I have a lot more confidence in Harrison Butker, who's made big field goals in the Super Bowl, than Jake Moody, who has been missing every game the last few weeks. So I wonder, I don't even know if he's going to be their kicker next year. He's been so inconsistent under pressure. They haven't had to deal with it yet. I feel like this is the game where it could come back and bite him. The Moody factor. Now, maybe Juwan Jennings will offset the Moody factor, but the Moody factor is big.
So do you think that Jake Moody will be the X factor in a negative way? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do. I feel like that's something the Niners can't avoid, their issue at kicker. He's physically talented, but, I mean, he misses wide right a lot.
He's like Cyclops without like the regulator. Remember back in the old X-Men when Cyclops didn't have the yellow visor and he was just all over the place? He was so powerful, but he just needs the regulator.
I'll tell him. James JJ says that if Niners lose, is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan a package deal, and or can and will they make Kyle an advisor? They're not going anywhere, James JJ.
They're not going anywhere. Did you hear Jed? Dude, yeah. Come on. That was an ode. That was a sonnet. Are you crazy?
It was. Matthew Sanders says if Chiefs lose, they lack real talent. Can caught up by Harbaugh and Peyton. Josh and Lamar get some. No guarantee they ever get back there. They're cocky. Yeah, but they have the best quarterback and maybe the best coach. They're going to have to replace Travis Kelce at some point because he's just going to retire and become a house husband, I would think.
If you look at the Chiefs and how NFL history is made out, Brock Purdy could be Patrick Mahomes' Eli Manning, but for how the NFL is built, the Chiefs, it's much more, if you're looking at their dynasty, it's much more plausible for the Chiefs to get here with one of their worst teams of their regime and to keep it pushing and kind of like put that pelt on the wall rather than it is for them to be like fraudulent, right? Because I fell victim to that, man. Like, I thought that they were weak. I was like, man, look at this offense. This shit is mid. Then they got to the playoffs, and I was like, who are these guys? Like, they completely turned it on. So, Hey, man, they here for a reason. I'll say that.
All right, guys, I got to get some lunch and get down to Lake Las Vegas, which is an interesting spot. What is Lake Las Vegas? It seems like it's like 45 minutes east. And I'm guessing rich people who live in Vegas who want like a little summer spot in like a gated community, get places. And I think that's kind of what it is. So it's nice.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of nice. So I'm heading out to Lake Las Vegas. It's the last day. We'll see who. No, I'm going to tell you who talk. Hold on. Here's who's going to be at the podium today. Brock Purdy, Javon Hargrave, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Tashawn Gibson, Trent Williams, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa. The stars. See what happens? Coach, thank you very much.
My man.
Make sure you subscribe to the coach's channel.
Bang, bang.
In the description. And also, real quick, I want to shout out Boots Whitmer. We shouted her out a couple weeks ago. She started her chemo. She's doing great. She's hanging tough. Boots, we're thinking about you. Hang in there.
Hey, Boots. Do your thing, Boots. Stay strong, baby. Stay strong, baby.
Real quick. Josh White, 70% of tickets are in on Chiefs. Money is about even. Professional gamblers are in on the Niners with bigger bets. Smart money usually beats dumb money.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be a great debate on both sides as to why either team should win, right? Because they're both very good teams. I mean, we wanted to see the Ravens. I did, but you can't be mad at us facing a team that actually was the team that got us up out of here. And a lot of those same guys are on the team today, and we can do something about it, man. You know, so I really do feel like this is a pick 'em.
We'll see what happens. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.